Welcome to Recovery, Season 2, the new normal, Episode 3. I'm your host, Alain Kapatashungu. In this episode, I'm talking to Chris Smith, who's a keynote speaker, an author, a real estate entrepreneur based out in Orlando. So Chris' work has been featured in various publications such as Forbes, but also Entrepreneur.com, to name but a few. And Chris is also an author, as I mentioned, a USA Today bestselling author of The Conversion Code. A must read, really, if you're interested in learning how to capture more leads, create quality appointments, and close more sales, which is like what we do here, guys, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm really excited to be able to chat with Chris today. And he's also a co-founder of Curaytor, a full-service digital marketing company that specializes in working with top producing real estate teams. Again, this is you guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we are really, really excited to learn from him, to hear what he's been seeing lately. And we're just going to get started and dive into the conversation. But first, Chris, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, man. I'm excited. I just got back from a nice vacation, and
Awesome.
this is one of the first things I'm doing.
That's awesome.
Since I got back, I also have interviewed a lot of people for my podcast.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it's a lot easier to get interviewed than to do the interview.
Absolutely.
So I love these opportunities. I love helping out any, fellow entrepreneur who's trying to do good stuff.
I appreciate that. We're definitely going to get into the podcasting later on to the questions, because I think it's going to be interesting for some folks out there to kind of hear how you get started and what kind of get you going into the area. So that's going to be interesting too. But to kind of get us started, I think Orlando and Florida in general, as opposed to us here in Paris, you guys weren't really, you weren't severely quarantined, to say the least. So, but can you walk us like through your quote unquote typical day, even if I know that there's not, like what was your typical work day throughout this pandemic, pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough. I mean, I've honestly hated it. Like I like going to the office. I like being around my employees.
Yes.
I love it. So it sucks. Honestly, I hate being at home, working at home. I'm alone. I have my kids here, like, because they were doing virtual school too,
Yes.
So it definitely took a while to get adjusted. At this point, and it's funny that you say, like, what's your typical day? Or because I really do try to have kind of an extreme structure.
Got it.
But I don't always stick to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
if I'm keeping
absolutely.
it real.
Absolutely.
But one of the things that I would say that is a best practice for me, and I think for most people, would be, what do you do for the first hour and a half, hour to hour and a half that you wake up? And my advice would be to do no work at all. I wouldn't work. I wouldn't check Slack. I wouldn't check Twitter. I wouldn't check my inbox. I wouldn't check Facebook. The first hour and a half is like, you got to get the motor going a little bit. So
absolutely.
I'm not a fitness guru or anything like that, but I had a chance to interview Gary Keller from Keller Williams.
Yes, absolutely.
And we have a mutual friend named Lisa Archer, and she told me, she said, Chris, Gary says that you should always work out before you work. He said, millionaires work out before they work. That's
awesome.
And at the time, this is a while back, I said, Lisa, I'm not a millionaire. She said, maybe that's why, maybe that's why. So, but I totally understand it. Like, my morning routine is really just all about, getting up and walking the dog and trying to do some exercise and drinking my coffee. And I listen to sports talk radio, nothing business related. And then it's like, okay, an hour and a half later, now I'm like wide awake. I feel great. I can go into my first meeting, with everything cranking.
Awesome.
The other thing I've known is, like, they say this is kind of a cliche. If it's not on your calendar, it doesn't exist.
Agreed. I agree with that, actually.
Yeah, it's a big one because, and here's the thing that's weird. Like, it's weird to put on your calendar, like, read business news or write content or film videos or that stuff's weird because it's really a task just for you. You know what I mean? Most of the things on our calendar involve two people.
Agreed.
So you have to kind of look at that and say, you know what? I need more stuff on my calendar that's one person, which is just me. You know what I mean? So that would be another thing for me that would just be kind of like, if you look at your schedule and there's a bunch of holes in them, you know, fill it as much as you can, or fill it with like, I'm going to watch TV. You know what I mean? Like I'm not going to work, but I do think it's dangerous, and I fall victim to that, where it's like every day's a little different. You said that it's our own fault that it is. Now, if it's clients and there's a fire to put out or an emergency happening, of course your day can go off track.
Yes.
But you have to control your schedule for sure to be super productive. And I try. So anyways, it's a lot of not working for the first part of the day. It's sort of deeply working when there's not something on the calendar. And then it's about like when there's an appointment, like with this call with you, it's like I'm dialed in. Like
absolutely,
I'm not looking at my text. I'm not going to get distracted by any alerts. Slack's turned off. That no one's going to come in the room and interrupt me. So that would just be my last piece of advice, to be like, when you have something with someone else, like airplane mode on the phone.
Agreed.
You got to be 100% in the moment.
Absolutely. That is actually funny, because you talked about the calendar earlier. That those are the kind of things that I also put in my calendar. Like, and I agree, it's really weird, because you will be like, okay, Tuesday, write blog article or something like that. But it's you actually. It's just something that you want to push. It's not about guest blogging for someone. Like, so it's kind of weird to prepare, because it is.
And for creative people, like, just to say this, for creative people that do write and blog and all this stuff, the challenge is you might put it in your calendar, but then you're not feeling it. So it's like, okay, now it's 2:00 and I have 3 hours and I'm not in the mood to write. I'm not inspired to write. I have writer's block.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's tricky.
It's kind of hard when that time comes to be, okay, now I have those 3 hours, but you're not feeling about writing right now. So it's kind of difficult too.
It's very much like exercise. You never really want to do it.
Exactly. I think you hit it on the head earlier when you talked about starting your day by doing work before you go to work, because it's something that pre-COVID that I was actually trying to do. Like every morning I would go out and walk for like almost 2 hours, and then get to do a little bit of basketball, which is my favorite sport, and then go home. Once you've done that, you are able to just be able to focus and then be able to do work. But those habits, you have to be consistent with it. That's the hardest part. Yeah. And then when you just have a glitch, for me, it was COVID. And then it was like, I wasn't able to go out again. I wasn't able to be able to go home and things of that nature. So I definitely understand that. So Chris, what is to you like the one element that was overlooked that COVID just pretty much confirmed as an undeniable demand in the industry? What is to you the one thing that will always stay now that we discovered through COVID pretty much?
Yeah, great question. There's probably several different answers, but I think the willingness and number of people who will want to see a home virtually is probably not going to go all the way away. Especially like if you consider Matterport and some of those technologies, virtual showings, walking through the home. I think that's a big part of it. I don't think real estate agents are going to be doing Zoom calls all the time with buyers and sellers. I think they'll do them for coachings and for meetings internally with their teams and stuff, but I don't see listing appointments all going remote. Like, I think that things are going to settle back in and be pretty damn close to what they were. And there's some stuff that was sort of innovated around the like processes stuff, the notary or the closing always having to be in person with a wet signature, and the way the escrow works. Some of that stuff I think probably will not go back, but that's the boring stuff. You know what I mean? Agreed.
So I don't know about you guys in Orlando, but for example, here in Europe, in Paris particularly, like we are really seeing record low housing inventory. Like we have a lot of demand and not that much of a supply. And I was curious, like, how is the market over there for you? How are things going on the real estate market wise in Orlando and Florida? If you can share with that.
Well, it's exactly the same.
Okay.
It's exactly the same. It actually feels good. No offense, but it feels good to know you guys have that problem too.
We do.
I don't think people realize it was a global pandemic.
Absolutely.
So we have a lot of stuff in common.
Yes.
When it comes to sort of the way markets are moving and consumer spending and all these other things, vaccines, of course. The market is unprecedented. Oh. It is one of a kind.
Okay.
The number of offers coming in is at an all-time high per property.
Wow.
Property sold over asking price, all-time high.
Wow.
Number of days on market, all-time low. Home values going up, all-time high.
Wow.
So it's these extremes.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's incredible.
And so, like it's really a lot harder to get and find listings. And it's, obviously that's at the heart of where all these other things I just mentioned kick in. But I'll tell you the way I think about the market. You want the market to move. You want the market to change. Good, bad, or ugly. Like when the market's moving, that allows your marketing to move.
Absolutely. Wow, that's powerful. That's true.
You know what I'm saying? When the market, like you have to look at that. Like when I was at Quicken Loans and I was writing mortgages in 2008, they were 7%.
Wow.
So 7%. Obviously I'm never going to talk about the fact that rates are at an all-time low.
True.
And by the way, the rates in the 80s were 18 to 20%.
Yes.
And then now they're 2%, right?
Wow.
So you want the market moving, but you have to move with the market.
Agreed.
You see what I'm saying? You have your messaging. Like I'll give you an example right now. Bragging about a listing that you sold over asking price. It's sort of like that wasn't because of you.
Yeah,
like no offense.
The market doing that.
That was the market.
Agreed.
So it's sort of like you're benefiting from the fact that that's true, but you didn't create the 39 offers on the first day. That wasn't from your marketing. That wasn't from your advertising. That was just situational stuff.
Agreed.
So I think of the market more as just like when it's moving, move with it. And listen, that's seasonal, right?
True.
That's sort of, interest rates, home values, days on market. But I think how's the market is a question that every real estate agent needs to be able to answer really well.
Absolutely.
And have that dialed in because that's a pretty common question. As a technology guy, an author, speaker, marketing person, I'm not going down to Starbucks and people are saying, how's the market?
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I don't have it dialed in, but man, if I was an agent, I would have it dialed in.
Absolutely. That makes sense. To kind of follow up on it a little bit. So what advice would you give to an agent starting in the business right now? Like this is not it depends. People think that this is not the greatest time to be able to start in the business. I believe the contrary. I think that wherever there's a crisis, you have an incredible amount of opportunity too if you know where to look. So what advice would you give to new agents starting in the business right now?
Well, the stat that's really mind-blowing here is that there's more agents than listings.
Wow. Yeah,
there's more agents than listings. And that's also the first time that's ever happened. So
that's huge.
One thing I would say is don't. I would say you might not want to get into the industry because it's super hard to break through.
Yes.
And most people fail. And the way that you kind of win a little bit is finding listings from your sphere and to get you cranking. Exactly. And that's hard to do right now.
Absolutely.
So I actually tweeted this recently, what would you tell a first year agent? Enjoy it and have fun and work hard because there's a very, very good chance it'll be your only year.
Oh my God.
Now, on the optimistic side, That's the realistic side. On the optimistic side, which any entrepreneur or, commission only career, you got to be pretty optimistic, right?
Yeah.
I would say go work as a buyer's agent on the number one listing agent's team.
Yes.
In your area. Okay.
That's good.
And it's not just one, there's usually a handful. So like where I live, it's like Veronica Figueroa, Jenny Weimer, they are these massive teams that dominate. And so I would go work under them, learn the ropes from them. You know what I mean? Like have them in place as a mentor. Absolutely. And then of course they also, the reason they have a team is because they have more buyer opportunities than they can actually manage. So that can be a source of some business. And then because they're so busy and successful and they have so many listings and clients that they're dealing with, they don't do any marketing. They're literally too busy to do any marketing. So I would also, as I'm learning the real estate side of the business, I would be learning how to market listings in creative and effective ways. And I would just go tap the lady on the shoulder and say, hey, Miss Weimer, do you mind if I run a couple Instagram ads for your new listing? Do you mind if I do an email marketing campaign to my database about your new listing, or a Facebook ad, or a YouTube? You mind if I go shoot a YouTube video of your new listing?
Great ideas.
And they're all going to say, yeah, that'd be great. And some of them that are successful, they'll be like, let me know how much you spend. They probably would even pay you back. They just don't have the time. And you do have the time because you're new. So it would be, working for a really successful agent, offering to do really, good marketing for their listings, open houses, solds, that whole life cycle.
Yes.
And then it would just be the dirty work, the grunt work of floor duty, or, where you're working the front desk and doing the open house and going to the local festival where there's a booth and, that kind of stuff, because that can create opportunities too.
Agreed. Those are really, really good advices. So I've been following you for a while now. That's why I really, really was excited to be able to connect with you. We have so many people in common, and you are just one of these leading voices in our industry. And absolutely. And I was curious, this is more a personal questions to you. What lessons have you learned pretty much, whether it's on yourself or business wise during this pandemic? What have you discovered that you didn't know pretty much about you yet?
Yeah, that's a great question. When I think about what I've learned, I'll tell you what I've learned and been top of mind the most for me is that I heard Gary Vaynerchuk one time say, your actions have to line up with your ambitions.
Wow.
Meaning if your goal is to build a $50 million or $100 million company, that's going to be insanely hard. It's most likely not going to happen. It's really going to take a lot of work for a long time, right?
Absolutely.
And so I would say the kind of epiphany I had during the pandemic, because everything kind of crashed and screeched to a halt and nobody really knew what was going to happen. So you definitely do some reflecting. What I learned during the pandemic is that you need to be ready to play the long game. When you follow Silicon Valley and the software space that we're in, every day there's another company getting funding, and every day there's another $1 billion company, and every day there's another IPO. You know what I mean? There's another exit. That gives you kind of an inferiority complex.
Agreed.
It does for me. And it's
for me. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think if people are being honest, it does. Cause it's
definitely.
Man, I'm nowhere near that. Right. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, I made the Inc. list. I have a best-selling book. I built a 8-figure annual company.
Absolutely.
That I'm really proud of, that does great work for great people. And by the way, we're still heading north.
Absolutely.
So I guess what I learned is there's just more stairs and more bricks than you hoped.
Agreed.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Because you kind of just watch the world where it's like the Amazons and Facebooks and Teslas and all this stuff. And then it's like, it's kind of like Hollywood. It's very rare.
Absolutely.
To be a famous actor. It's very rare to be a famous athlete. Well, it's very rare to be a multi-million-dollar startup. Yeah.
Agreed. Definitely. I can relate on that. Especially when I was in San Francisco back in 2015, like you were working on my first venture, and every single day, like you would just hear about these companies being funded, and you'll be like, man, I'm doing everything. But it's not happening like as fast as them, or it's not happening at the level that I'm expecting it to happen. So you would definitely have that kind of inferior feeling about yourself. But,
well, I don't know who has the saying, but it's like comparison is the death of joy.
Yes, definitely. I've heard that. That is true, actually. So this is the part that I was also really, really curious to kind of hear you talk about. So how did you get interested in podcasting? Like, what is the backstory to it? How did you get started with this?
Yeah, great question. So I started blogging. I mean, now it's podcasting. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It was YouTube and it was other stuff before that. But like, what got me interested in creating content, right?
Yes.
Was that I was on the road a couple weeks per month working for a company called Top Producer. And so I had a lot of downtime and alone time because I was just on the road like a traveling salesman. And every appointment I had, I would get people's business cards and I would put them in my CRM. And I pretty much just started like an email newsletter. So that I could keep in touch with all the people I had met in my sales job. And then I just realized like we weren't really allowed to like send emails that like were trying to sell the products. Like our company didn't want us. They wanted anything like that happening at the corporate level. See what I'm saying?
Got it.
They wanted to control any marketing that was going out that was about Top Producer, Market Snapshot, the stuff they sell. They didn't want the sales guys writing the marketing emails, right? I get it. I get it. But I wanted to keep in touch with these people because I wanted to be able to go and have another appointment with them 6 months later. And I wanted that appointment to have more people at it. And I wanted them to hit me up when they bought something or wanted to add something to their suite of products. So I actually would just record like really helpful YouTube videos. And I wasn't even on camera. I was just like a screen recording, and I would be like, "Hey, check out this new tool. It's super cool. I think you would love it. Like, here's how I could see you using it as a real estate agent. Like, keep in touch, blah, blah, blah." And so I just was doing that as like an email campaign. And then eventually I was like, started studying it a little bit and then I'm like, I'm not supposed to do the email with the link to YouTube. I'm supposed to put the video from YouTube on my website and then link to that. I'm like, well, I don't have a website. So then I started a blog and then I started a Facebook page. So it's sort of like Facebook, YouTube, and blogging was like where I came in.
Got it.
And it blew up. It got all these awards from Inman News. It was called Tech Savvy Agent. Really,
that's incredible.
It was the right thing at the right time because the industry was old school and belly to belly and traditional, but there was this new like mobile, social, digital content, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram world emerging. And so I was just kind of the kid at the time that was just like pumped about all the stuff and excited about all the stuff and pretty good at communicating with agents, how to use it and how to like approach it the right way.
That is awesome. That is definitely awesome because you not only have been able to share those tools with them, but you would also tell them how to use them, which is powerful.
Well, that was the big thing is there's websites like TechCrunch and Mashable. And even now there's websites like Product Hunt where you can go and find a really cool technology, but then it's like, okay, I got to take that and work that into number one, what I do and my current business model. So we've always tried to provide, myself and Jimmy, our CEO, my co-founder, we've always tried to provide actionable advice.
That's the key word there.
So
absolutely.
We just think of everything through that lens. And so it's like, if it's a book or a podcast, like you mentioned, or an email or an Instagram post, like we want it to be actionable. And to make it actionable, you have to turn the corner for people. You can't just be like, hey, here's this cool app. It's a photo editing app. Check it out. You know, you have to give like kind of specific instructions. Hey, the next time you take pictures with your phone of a listing, do it vertically, use this app.
That's wow.
Use this filter and then put these into your stories on Facebook. And then it's like, oh, I got it. Like connect all the dots, you know?
Yes.
So we've just always been really good at that.
That is really awesome, because you just touched on something, Chris, there, because you hear a lot about how it's hard for technology companies to be able to get adopted by agents. And I think that's exactly the problem. Like you push a product, but how does it work for me? Like, how does it make sense for me? And being able to break it down the way you guys are breaking it down, it just makes sense for the person on the other end, and to be able to go, okay, I know how I can use it, right? Instead of just, this is the product, use it, but I don't know how I can implement it to my workflow. What does it mean for me? And that I think is really awesome.
It's clearly a problem in the industry, right? Like
absolutely.
Brokerages, franchises, they all sign up for all of these different tools for their agents, and they know 75% of them don't ever use it. They know that the ones that use it don't use it to its fullest. And then even if they get it to the point where they're using it, they don't know if it's working or if it's actually, is it actually helping their business sort of grow and get better. So yeah, it's tough. And that's really why, just with what we've always done at Curaytor, is that, okay, the tools are table stakes.
Yes.
Like obviously you need a website. Obviously you need landing pages. Obviously you need a CRM, like email marketing. Like, of course you need that. That would be like saying a hotel needs lights and a bed and a lobby. That's just table stakes.
Yes.
And so the question becomes, what are you doing with those things to move the needle for your brand, which moves the needle for your business?
Absolutely. That's powerful. What do you, since you've been doing this for a little while now, what do you like and dislike pretty much about podcasting? What excites you, and what things you go like, I'm not really fond of this? What are those things?
The thing that's the hardest is coming up with stuff worth recording.
Absolutely.
There's only so many topics and so many guests, and so when your frequency is high, like we did the water cooler for I think 2 to 3 years every single week, and we never missed a week. So
that's huge.
The part that I don't necessarily like is, coming up with the topic and the notes and booking the guests. And the part I like is this part, the ability to have great conversations with smart people, because as much as I'm bringing people into the podcast to teach, the people watching, I'm learning first and foremost for myself.
Absolutely.
So like, I feel like I interviewed not all, but
a lot.
Like, let's just say of the top 100 people in the industry, I probably interviewed 75 of them. Right.
Absolutely.
Like,
wow.
And it was just like, okay, I get it. Like I literally learned what the best do, how they do it, why they do it from them, not from me. And I was just kind of listening, and obviously, if somebody runs a really good shoe store that's insanely profitable, that's popular, like they could probably teach you how to sell more of what you sell.
Agreed.
So just like, that to me is the best part, is that you are getting to learn while you're teaching, So it's truly a win-win for yourself and for the audience. But the part I don't like is just all the logistics.
Yeah.
It's daunting. We did a live show as well. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
So because it's live,
you
want people to be watching live. So to get people to watch live, we would have to sort of do more email marketing than the average podcast.
Absolutely.
And so it was just like, if you do a weekly podcast, that's an hour long. Wow. It's almost the only thing you have time to do.
Exactly.
So that part is a little daunting.
It takes so much time. Since you shared that earlier on that conversation that you were on vacation, so I'm going to finish our conversation with this question just to kind of know where you're at. What are some of your personal or business goals that you have for the remainder of the year? What are some of the projects that you're working on, things that you're excited about?
Yeah.
What's coming up?
Yeah, great question. I just think that we're still at the infancy of making technology sort of fast, easy, useful, effective. Like I feel like the whole kind of version 1 has been, the core technologies. And then it's like, so as an example, there's websites.
Okay.
If you sign up for a website, your website is basically static. It never changes unless you go in and log in and publish and blog, right?
Yes.
You see all these stats about the fact that doing that is going to help your business tremendously.
Agreed.
And then you see how many real estate agents are blogging, right? It's like 5%, like 95%.
Wow.
Don't publish 2 blog posts a month or more.
Yes.
And again, it's because they're busy. They don't know what to do, etc.
True.
So I'm really kind of obsessed with like these things that people are going to want to do, but how do we do it without it looking and feeling and being like a template and it being automated and it being AI? Like how do you do quality, handcrafted, custom content at scale? At
scale, absolutely.
For your listings, for your solds, for your coming soons, for your open houses, for your market reports. Like, how and is it possible to do that at scale for thousands of agents?
Yes.
If there is that sort of human element.
Wow. That's huge.
Because you hit a ceiling. So I guess the analogy I would use would be like, for decades, you would have to get a financial advisor on the phone to give you the investment advice that you needed to then put your money in the right place and feel comfortable that you did, right?
Agreed.
Well, now there's a robo-advisor, they call it. And you can sign up for like Wealthfront. You can sign up for Betterment. You can sign up for these really good investment vehicles.
Yes.
And you answer a couple questions and they put your money in the right place. You know what I'm saying?
Insane.
So it's sort of like when I think about what Jimmy and I do is we consult people, we give people ideas, we give people feedback, right? And so we're sort of in a way the old school financial advisor.
Yes.
Right. So to me, what's next and what we're working on is kind of that robo advisor.
That is powerful.
Yeah.
That is really powerful. Because of the opportunity that lies behind it. I mean, it's to being able to do that at scale would be just unbelievable.
Well, and the secret is data, right?
Yes,
because
absolutely.
If somebody sent me their Facebook account or sent me their Instagram account or sent me their website, like I would look at it on the front end, but then I would go into the analytics and I would, what is their most popular post of all time? Exactly. What is their most popular article or page on their website or tweet or Instagram or TikTok, right?
Yes.
And if I could look at all their data and basically just say, okay, here's the top half of the stuff you've ever done. Here's the bottom half.
Yes.
Here's what the top half does differently than the bottom half, right? your best YouTube video you've ever published that got the most views, and the most time watched.
Yes.
Here's how it's different than the ones that perform at average or below. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
I think people are mostly flying blind,
Yes.
They're just sort of guessing. And so
exactly.
The data's there, the analytics is there, but how do you sort of like turn data into advice at scale for, call it, regular people, right?
Yes.
Real estate agents and teams, they don't have a data scientist on their team. They don't have someone that can spend 10 hours a week in Google Analytics and create data studio dashboards, and they're not logging into the Insights or Ads Manager and running sophisticated reports. Like, maybe they look at their email open rate and click-through rate, like something.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah. So they're not. So the data is there. And I remember, again, Gary Keller saying data is the new oil.
That's agreed.
Right.
That's
so
for
you
sure.
have to, we just look at it like it's kind of like slodgy,
Yeah.
and we have to refine it.
Exactly.
And make it useful to be able to put it in cars. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So that's really what I'm working on, is just like,
that is awesome.
Can content and advice scale in a quality way? Like, if I could give 100,000 people advice on their marketing and it was 80% as good as if I actually went one at a time, that's a game changer.
That's
right?
Definitely a game changer.
Yeah.
Like, literally. You're going to be able to, again, going back to the word that you shared, the actionable, using data in order to give actionable advice. As you said, instead of going to
and it's hard to compare. Like you said earlier, you compare yourself to others.
Absolutely.
If you're a real estate agent in Wichita, Kansas, okay?
Yes.
If your website year over year is up 1,000%, but let's say, for example, it only has 2,000 visitors per month.
Yes.
Well, you're killing it.
Exactly.
Exactly. Literally. So it's sort of like, how do you know if you're doing good? Exactly. And the only way to really understand, like, is what you're specifically executing on working, is to compare it to the other stuff that you have done.
Absolutely.
So if I look at someone's account and they're up 300% month over month, or their email list has grown by 84% year to date, I'm like, it's working. Like, you're doing good. But if meanwhile it's like, well, yeah, but we only have 800 people a month visiting our site, and you might be thinking about quitting because you think that number is not good.
Exactly.
So it's tricky. It's really tricky. But it's a fun problem to try to solve. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And it's a needed one, because I think we must be maybe one of the last industry out there who just don't use data to do exactly what you just said, which is to be able to take really informed decisions, right? We have a lot of hypotheses still in our industry. We have a lot of guesswork. And as you said, like, if you have the capacity to be able to do that at scale, that's definitely a game changer. In terms of time saved, in terms of money saved, in terms of just your capacity to take faster and better decision at most. That would be
for me personally, that is about the legacy that I want to build. I want to help.
Absolutely.
I want to be able to have hundreds of thousands of people.
That's awesome.
Who benefit in their business and then in their life because of what I've done. And quite frankly, doing it as like a marketing agency where you're just helping the clients in a really hands-on way, building their website, setting up their CRM, writing their content, like sending their emails. We do that.
That's awesome.
You're already doing it. Have 50,000 customers.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? Because there is that human element.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's what we're working on. That's what I'm excited about, is sort of awesome. How do we scale what we know so that other people get better at what they do?
That is powerful. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. So guys, we're going to thank Chris. That's a wrap for this week recovery episode with the awesome Chris Smith. You can catch this new episode as always on YouTube and on all platforms streaming podcasts. And remember, in the recovery, don't just get back to the same place, but strive to get to a better place.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chris, for the time. That was awesome to have you on. This was a treat, man.
Cool. I enjoyed it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for the time. I'm going to follow up and let you know when the episode is going to be ready so that we can, when we premiere it, I'm going to send you obviously the link so that you can have it as well.
Okay. Hey, since I got you, like,
sure.
why don't you give me the pitch on what you're working on?
So
I think it's FRONTDDOR app.
Exactly.
Is that your company?
It's my company. Yes.
Okay.
It's FRONTDDOR. FRONTDDOR.re is our website, pretty much. We actually switching to a new website, but it's funny because it's exactly what we were talking about earlier. So basically, what we're doing is that we build think of it as a browser extension that pretty much lives inside of an agent inbox, and what it allows them to do is when they get a lead, pretty much is to know literally everything that there is to know about this lead, and then we score that lead. And then we give agents recommendation as it pertains to what they should do with it, right? Because we know, for example, what they're looking to do on a quarterly basis, on a monthly basis, or on a yearly basis. So for us, it's all about saving those guys time. And for us, it's all about using data to help them make faster and better decisions on leads that they're getting. So that's what we are doing with FRONTDDOR. We're still in an alpha phase right now, but we're working with companies like Compass and Century 21, whether it's in the US or here in Europe. So we are still in this infancy phase, but things are going really, really well.
And am I hearing you correctly that are you saying that the extension is basically more for like Gmail?
It actually works with every single browser and every single email client. Yeah. We built something that was so this is a new essay that we did. So we tried the first iteration and it was too costly in terms of time invested. So basically agents were like, we cannot leave what we are doing in order to use your product. Again, you touched on it a little earlier. So we've been able to pretty much build this whole thing manually. So we learn and shadow the teams and saw how they were working. So we built a platform that is so easy that completely work with whatever system that you have. If you're working on Gmail, we can do that. If you're using Outlook, we can do it. Whatever you have, we build a system that can just be integrated to your workflow, and there's no disruption. There's nothing to download. There's nothing to install. Like it's literally your everyday email, right? Which is easy for you, any agents to be able to use it. There's no platform to go to and log into, for example.
Yeah. And is there, you're obviously going to have, like, if you're enriching the profile of a person, naturally that people would want that to go into their CRM.
Absolutely. And then it goes directly to the CRM as well. So we build this product. The goal for us was, how can we build something that remove literally every single roadblock that we've been having for the last 18 months.
Yeah.
It was all about, okay, how can I put this into my CRM? Does it work with my marketing survey? How can I have this integrated with my email? So the entire product is built in a way where once you finish with your lead, once you want to get, started with that lead, you can just push it directly to your CRM and it goes there because we are already integrated with your CRM as well.
I see.
Yeah.
Nice. So would you say it's similar to the Reportive? Exactly.
Yeah. That's the closest you can get in terms of in similarity. That's the closest that can get you can have. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that because before I got so deep into Curaytor, I was spending more time promoting other people's stuff than my own stuff, and I definitely talked a lot about Reportive.
Yeah.
People love it. No brainer.
Exactly.
Obviously, they sunsetted that and rolled it into Superhuman.
Yes.
So it's not even something you can access.
Yeah.
There was another app that was similar called Charlie. It was called
Charlie. I remember. I love the app too. Yeah.
Yeah. And what that would do is take the concept of here's all the data about the person, but putting it into the calendar as well.
Exactly. Well, once the lead has been qualified, vetted by you, and you are, decided that you want to move forward, meeting the lead, for example, what it's going to do afterward is that FRONTDOOR is going to put it directly to your calendar as well, so that you and your customer and your new client will get those invitations. So pretty much nobody had to send an email or, had a text or whatever. And it's funny that you talk about Superhuman, because he's actually the one who's been helping myself as it pertains to building this. Pretty much he's built it with robotic. So he's been really, really hands-on and helping me to understand like the mechanics behind how we've been able to do it. And that's definitely a great, is a huge reason why the product makes so much sense today.
Great.
Yeah.
Keep me posted on how it's going. And
absolutely.
Yeah. Is your main focus over there or over here?
Oh no, it's definitely in the US. We have like more early adopters, more people using the product in the US than Europe. Europe is still pretty much Europe is like 20 years behind compared to the US as it pertains to real estate. Like in here, it's really, really, really behind. So we are definitely focused on the US.
That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think most companies do. Australia, a lot of entrepreneurs from Australia, and they have a good ecosystem over there, but they all want traction here, which is cool.
That makes sense. That's where you can put something on the market, and if it doesn't work, the beauty of it is that people will just tell you about it. They'll rip the product to shred, and then you go back to the drawing board and come back with something different. So that's. And
what are you guys trying to raise? Like, what are your fundraising goals? Do you have any? Have you raised a seed round or anything?
We went to MetaProp earlier, and I have to be honest, that was a huge waste of time. And then so we didn't raise. Then we decided to focus on the product, build the product, see if the market was there, which is something that we know now. So now we are raising 500,000 pre-seed. So we're actually starting to raise right now. Pretty much, we started having some meetings, whether it's in the US, whether it's in London, whether it's in Paris. So we are a small team of 5, and now we are starting the fundraising process pretty much.
Cool. Yeah, well, I have to say, I'd be interested in potentially being a part of that. It's one of my goals this year is to start, making angel investments and seed round investments and stuff that I think is really useful.
That'd be awesome.
And then obviously, through our personal brand and public marketing, we can help, but also through our internal customer base.
Absolutely.
We work with, I think, a little more than 500 teams.
Oh my God.
Every team has 5 team members on average, so about 2,500.
25. Oof. Wow.
Yeah, which is cool. And they're all like
awesome.
paying, like we charge a lot. Our lowest priced option is $1,300 per month.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me right now? That's insane.
I know. Our average revenue per user is about $1,800.
Oh my God. Those are those are great numbers. Like when you go to bed at night, like you feel good about yourself. Those are really great numbers. That's awesome.
If we had 5,000 people at $900 a month, it'd be the same thing.
Wow.
But it's tricky. So
that's impressive.
We basically work with like really influential and really successful agents, and then if they try something and love it and use it, like they can spread the word too. So I'd be interested in what valuation are you putting the company at for the 500K?
We are putting a valuation of 4.5 on this round.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to send you more information on it.
Send me everything you got, and I'll talk to my co-founder Jimmy.
Absolutely.
I think for him and me, like because we are still running Curaytor, we would almost probably go in as a team.
Absolutely. That'd be really, really awesome to have you on. As you said, as I told you, like I've been following you for a while. So that would be just like for what you guys are building, what you're doing. That would be just awesome to be able to have you on this round.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, we'll keep in touch and keep fighting the good fight over there.
Absolutely. You too, Chris. Have a good day. Thanks for the time
Alain.
today. Yeah.
See you, buddy.
Awesome.